44 Life and Strive podcast. Welcome back. We've had a crazy week this week. We just had Dakota Popane on. We had Kendall on from the BPN Ultra, the co-champion of that. And now we're back. And well, we just had our Bayshore recap too, which was that was a big one. So now we're back with personally, like, this is like the episode. This is my magnum opus, right? This is like the one I was like really, really hoping to get at some point. Shout out to a guy I coach, Victor. He was on Ben is running's training camp in Kenya. Met him at the location they stayed at, the High Altitude Training Center, and hooked it up. So yeah, Ben is running Ben Felton on the pod today. Ben, thanks for making time, man. I'm stoked to chat with you.
That was Felix, by the way. That was you said Victor. Just want to make sure we give credit where credit's due. Felix, thank you so much
Felix,
for the hookup,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah. We were just talking about Coach Victor, so I got mixed up.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite European guys, so I mixed them up. So yeah, Felix is going to
appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on the pod, and that is correct. I met a guy called Felix from Germany, I believe, out in Kenya, who looks surprisingly very similar to me. A lot of people have said that we are basically doppelgangers of each other. So yeah, he told me about you guys and your cool podcast. So here we are now having a chat.
I think it's the glasses. You all kind of both have the same style glasses.
Yeah, the glasses, the tash, the short hair. We look pretty similar, especially when we took a photo in front of the "Welcome to a 10" sign, like standing next to each other. We look like we could be long lost brothers, that's for sure, or twins.
So
even.
good.
So tell me, is the Kenya trip worth? I'm assuming it's like fairly expensive. I've heard the lodging isn't too bad, but obviously the flights are probably pretty expensive. Is it worth it to go to Kenya and train at altitude?
Well, I've been 4 times in the last 2 years, so I would definitely say it's 100% worth it. As you said, it's a little bit expensive to get there because flights from Europe or America are always going to be a little bit expensive to get that sort of distance. But once you're there, it's very affordable. Like the accommodation that I stay at sort of looks after all your food, your lodging, your gym, track usage. So everything's sort of in one package. So once you're there and you pay for that fee, then it's not actually too bad when you compare it to, say, a training camp in Europe, where the price of food and the actual training would probably be a little bit higher. So I absolutely love Kenya, and it's one of my favorite places to train, and I'm sure I'll be back there before too long.
The good thing for you is, if me or Danny went to Kenya, right, we would just be missing work and not really getting, well, like obviously like training benefit, but for you, you go there and you're making like really interesting content, so you're kind of making money while also like spending money on the trip, obviously, but it has a good return for you too in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. When I'm there, the content is always elevated a little bit. If people aren't familiar with what I do for a living, I make YouTube and Instagram content all about running, and so when I'm in Kenya, in Africa, like, it just brings a new dynamic to the training. I can share insights from locals. I can just share my training on some of the tougher conditions in terms of altitude, heat, elevation, and you pretty much got it all over in a 10. So it's a pretty interesting place to train, and that helps with the content creation side of things that I do as well. So I love it.
I want to talk about some of the places that you've traveled for training, because you've been all around the world with your training and running journey. But what's something about Kenya that may be a little known fact, or something surprising that you found out the first time you've been there, or maybe a later discovery?
Yeah, I think one thing people don't talk about too much is how hilly the area is, the elevation. Obviously, you're at altitude, which is already hard enough, but the place that I train at, in a 10, is basically at the very top of the Rift Valley. So when you come out of camp, you've either got to go left, which is downhill, or right, which is downhill. So every run starts with at least like 5 to 10 kilometers of running down, and then you turn around, and then you've got to come back to camp, which is obviously always going to be uphill. So not only are you trying to get used to the altitude when you first get there, which feels like breathing through a straw, your elevation suddenly goes from, well, where I live in the UK, in Essex, is very, very flat. So I do maybe 200, 300 meters of elevation in a week. Whereas when I go to Kenya and I do the same amount of distance, I'll be doing like 1,000 meters of elevation without even sort of seeking out the hills. It's just unavoidable there. So yeah, definitely the elevation is always a bit of a shock, and also just how friendly and nice people are there. Like people don't often have a lot, which is, I think, fair to say. Like it's an area that obviously has its areas of poverty and people struggling, but everyone that you meet out in Kenya, no matter where they come from or their current situation, seems to be super happy and always welcoming into their environment, which is one of the reasons why I love going there.
Yeah, I've heard that it's super hilly there and mountainous, and it definitely seems like every picture and video I get of a group run, everyone's smiling. Everyone's so happy to be out enjoying the sport. And man, I wish we could just get a little piece of that and bring it home. But that sounds really cool the way you describe it. Do you think that there's
infectious? That's for sure.
It's infectious. It's infectious. Do you think that there are benefits, because you're only there for a few weeks, training at altitude versus, some elites go out to Flagstaff or wherever in the United States and train at altitude for months and months. Do you think that you can feel the benefit just being exposed at altitude and training there for a shorter amount of time?
Yeah, I definitely think if you're looking to do an altitude camp, then I'd probably advise at least 3 weeks. I've done 2 weeks in the past, and it's almost, you need time when you go there to like acclimatize. So it almost takes 10 days to get used to the new training environment. And then you need a little bit of time, obviously, to do some training itself. So I would say 3 weeks is the minimum in terms of being able to feel the benefits when you come back home. But I've had some really good results having come back from altitude. I ran Barcelona half marathon earlier this year and ran quite a big PB. And that was after 3 weeks in Kenya. But I think not just the altitude, but when you're there, everything is like dialed in. Like your food is looked after for you. Like the amount of work, obviously, you have to do is drastically reduced depending on what you do for a living. It just allows you to basically wake up, go for a run, sleep, go for a run, eat, go to bed, and do the whole thing again. And if you do that for 2 or 3 weeks, then you're going to come back a lot fitter than you were at the start, regardless of whether there's altitude or not. So, I've definitely felt the benefits, and that's why I probably keep going back, because I'm like, oh, I've got a big race coming up. Better go to Kenya to get some good training in.
Yeah, I think you described my ideal vacation, or the ideal vacation of someone listening to this podcast is wake up, eat, go run, PM session, eat, go to sleep, enjoy with your friends.
I took my partner Meg there for just to show her like what a 10 was, like where I love to run in Kenya, and she came for, I think it was a week to 10 days. But I quickly realized that if you're not a runner, which she does a little bit of running, like a couple of runs a week, but she's not a like get up every single day and has to go for a run like maybe we are. But I soon realized that if you're not necessarily a runner, then it isn't the most interesting of places. But if you are, then it's hard to beat. You've got like incredible trails, the dirt track, the Kipchoge Stadium, and you're just surrounded by like world-class athletes, whether they're from Iten, from Kenya themselves, or just European athletes will flood there from around the world to train. So it's always an inspiring setting to be in, to be surrounded by people that are just getting after it every day. So it's easier to get your training done when you're seeing everyone else absolutely smash it. So it's good for inspiration, that's for sure.
Danny, I'm about to drop some Ben is running super fan knowledge on you right here.
Let's go.
Ben met Eliud Kipchoge in Kenya. I saw it on Felix's Instagram, but it wasn't the first time he's met Eliud. He met him at the start line.
I think I know
Boston
this.
Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
You went up and you gave him knucks.
Exactly, yeah. Fist pump before the start. It was chucking it down with rain. He looked pretty cold at the time, and he didn't go on to have such a great race. I think I was actually catching him up towards the end. I think he ran something like 2:10 on the day, which was a tough run for him. And I had one of the best runs of, my current PB in the marathon, which is 2:24, which I still haven't quite beaten yet. Which was on on a rainy day in Boston, which is probably the best day of my life, my running life at least. Anyway, so it was a special day to meet him.
That's amazing that you could run that fast on that course. It must have been some of the Kipchoge magic that rubbed off on you pre-race.
And I had been to Kenya before that race, so there you go. The
There
training,
you go.
the altitude training is definitely
That
worth
Kenya
it.
magic, baby.
Exactly.
All right. Do you want to do rapids, Chris?
Oh, you got some? All right.
I've
Yeah,
got some.
I'd love to.
All right. This is our favorite part of the episode. Usually our co-host Scotty, who's not here today, does the rapid fires. That's his main job in the podcast, rapid fire questions. But today I'm going to fill in as best I can as his substitute. So there's a couple rules for rapid fire questions. You're not allowed to elaborate unless I say so. And the first and last question we always ask are the same. Last question, we'll elaborate. But let's get to it. First question, Ben, and this goes for our overall tally. We're keeping track on this now. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
I'm not a huge ice cream guy. I know I'm not meant to be elaborating here, but probably go for chocolate.
Chocolate, okay. Not a common flavor choice, honestly.
Yeah, that would be my pick. But I must admit, I don't really go for ice cream too much.
Really? Huh. That's interesting.
That's fair.
Do you guys have custard in America?
Yeah.
I'm more of like a custard on desserts guy rather than the mixing hot with cold. So ice cream isn't usually something I would pick, but if I was, then I'd go for chocolate.
Respect.
Fair enough.
If you could swap,
very Euro answer.
I'm surprised that you didn't say gelato. That's even more. I guess Italian. Whatever.
Mango sorbet.
All right.
Sorbet. Count, though. Yeah.
If you could swap lives with any cartoon character for a day, who would it be and why?
Cartoons. Oh, maybe Bart Simpson. Just think that could be quite funny to run around, living the Bart Simpson life, eat my dust, doing whatever I want.
Oh, that's a great answer.
I thought you were going to go with SpongeBob there because you use the SpongeBob transitions occasionally on your videos.
A few moments later.
Yeah. The next day. If you had to eat only one color of food for the rest of your life, which color would it be?
I have to be beige, I reckon. Need those carbs.
Fair. What's the most absurd thing you've ever done to impress someone?
Ooh. What have I done to impress someone? Don't really know. Nothing really comes to mind. No, maybe if somebody new comes around to the house and they ask for a coffee, I might flex with a good bit of latte art, but that's probably as far as it goes.
Yeah, you are good at that.
What's your coffee setup?
I have a machine at home. It's a Sage Barista Pro, I think it is. Grind the beans, froth the milk, good flat whites every time. So, yeah, I'm a bit of a coffee snob, if you like. So, if somebody asks for it, if somebody comes around for a coffee, they're getting one of the best coffees they've ever had.
I'm a pour over guy. Are you a pour over guy?
I don't mind a pour over, but I usually go for a flat white first, and then if I'm feeling a second coffee, I'll go for like a filter coffee or something like that. I've got like one of those drip coffee machines where you basically just press a button and it slowly pours the water through, and that would be a good second coffee, but usually it's a flat white to kick me off.
Respect. All right, you've heard the question, what is your spirit animal? I want to know, what is your spirit kitchen appliance?
Well, we just heard about the coffee machine there.
That can be your answer.
It could be, or I could refer to my latest purchase in the kitchen area, which is this new kettle, which you can basically choose the temperature of the water with an adjustable dial. So if you want to say a peppermint tea and you don't want it 100 degrees, you can turn it down to 80 degrees. And it will hold the temperature of the water for you. So you can press boil. You can go, do something upstairs, forget you even boiled the kettle and go back down and it's still 100 degrees. So, yeah, I guess if I was an appliance, I'd like to be a an adjustable temperature kettle, maybe for different speed settings, and then I can hold that speed for quite a long period of time while you need to go off and do the rest.
It's consistency, reliability. I respect
Awesome.
Exactly. You know what you're going to get.
You know what you're going to get. If you could have a theme song every time you walk into a room, what would it be?
Oh, theme song. Oh, I don't know why, but "We Are the Champions" came to mind from
Yes.
my Queen.
British
That
Queen.
sounds
I like that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. Reminds me of my nan as well. So, yeah, I'd go for "We Are the Champions." Makes you feel good. I mean, I'm not necessarily referring to myself as the champion. Just make me clarify that. But it's
It
kind of
reminds me of your grandma. I love that.
exactly. Yeah, she would put it on. She'd have
She must be awesome.
the concerts of Queen like on videotapes that she would literally put in, and we'd watch them for hours on end while she was like looking after me as a kid. So I know pretty much all of the Queen songs and their set lists from back in the day.
Man, we are really bad at following the rules on rapid fires, but I'm loving this so much.
Oh yeah,
All good.
no, I'm
Yeah.
not elaborating at all here.
What's your beige flag or like a weird habit that you're willing to admit?
Oh, that I have to have a cup of tea in the morning before I can function. Most people would think there would need to be a coffee, but when I wake up, the first thing I have is a cup of tea, and if I don't get that cup of tea, then yeah, the day is not going to be a good day. That's for sure.
My guy, you must be
Yeah.
absolutely zooted on caffeine 24/7.
I am pretty reliant on it. Yeah, I've tried to wean myself off and go through periods where I don't drink too much, and then I'm like, nah, I enjoy it too much. Like life's short, why not enjoy the caffeine?
That's fair. Okay, nope, not that one. What's the most useless piece of knowledge you have? Like a random factoid, just something ridiculous
Oh,
or random.
well, I studied international development at uni, and I'd say the whole 3 years at university of knowledge was a bit random, bit pointless because I never went into studying that any more than I did when I was there. So I've got lots of human geography facts that are often pretty pointless, given that I'm a running content creator. So I'd have to
All
say
right,
that.
what's a human geography fact that you can drop on us?
Oh, put me on the spot. Um, Something about the biggest tsunami or the most destructive tsunami was in 2004, and it caused complete destruction of where it hit. I can't remember now. Where was it? Oh, I don't know.
I'll look it up while you
Yeah,
answer this last.
there was a big one in 2004. Like
was going
All
to say it might be Japan,
it could well be
Might be.
but I don't know.
Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004,
So not
Ooh,
Japan. Then.
yes, yeah.
and it occurred
Yeah.
on Boxing Day, which was what made it so so deadly because everybody was at home celebrating
Yes.
the holiday period, and then unfortunately there was one of the deadliest tsunamis, which was a big event in terms of human geography, and so that would be
Okay.
a random fact.
We're all right. We're gonna lighten this up a little more. If you were a mythical creature, what would it be?
Mythical creature. What example? What's an example of a mythical creature?
Like a dragon or a unicorn,
like a Loch Ness monster or something like that.
Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one that came to mind, but I can't really think of many characteristics that I have in common with an elusive Scottish animal that lives in the water. So maybe that wouldn't be the best, but that's what came to mind.
Okay. All right. Last question. You're allowed to elaborate. Why do you run?
Ooh, big question, eh?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of changed from when I started running to up until now. When I originally got into running, it was purely just to meet new people. I'd moved to a new city after university, and I knew nobody there. So I was like, how can I meet new people? Like, where is there a community of people that I could integrate with in a place that I knew absolutely nothing? So I went along to a local running club, met a load of lovely people out in Sweden, in Stockholm at the time, and yeah, met some people, and then over time, my shift for why I run was kind of like, oh, I really am enjoying this running thing that I've now started just purely to meet new people, and then it became much more about self development and seeing how far I could push the envelope, if you like, in terms of putting the training in and then seeing what outcome you could get out of it. So I guess I got pretty fixated by the what you put in is what you get out sort of roundabout way that running goes. So I would say that now the sort of self development is definitely the biggest thing that keeps me coming back to running, is to see, yeah, how fast can you get, how far can you run, etc., etc. So yeah,
Yeah,
it becomes
like all things equal
a
in
big part
running,
of my life.
it's a true example of a meritocracy, right? So there's the time on the clock, and that's the only thing that really matters. Like if you're a 222, 224, 240 guy, like that's,
Yeah,
where you are in the sport. And not to say that that describes you, as a human being, but it's just, there's levels to the game, and they're self-explanatory. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely black and white there. But so your time in Sweden, I want to ask you, is that how you met Victor?
Yes, that is where I met Victor.
Really?
Yeah, I went along to two running clubs. The first was more of like a social, like run club, what we know nowadays. Like I say nowadays, run club scene is absolutely blown up in the last sort of
Yeah.
1-2 years here in the UK. I'm sure maybe it has in America as well. But this was the first run club I went to, was more of a traditional running club. People would meet up once a week, go for a social run, and then we'd have like a beer afterwards or some food, which is really good. But then when I started to get into running a little bit more, when I wanted to get a little bit more serious, I was like, how is the best way to get faster? So I went along to more of an athletics club. I think it's called Friedrichshof in
Hmm.
uh, in Stockholm, and that's where I met Victor. And within that running athletics club, there was like 4 groups, and Victor was at the very top of this group. He was the guy absolutely smashing the threshold um, at training sessions, and I was like, "Whoa, who's that cool guy with a moustache?" And um, yeah, that's where I first kind of got introduced as Victor, and he became a bit more of a role model, I guess, in terms of I was completely new to the performance side of running, and I saw this guy like absolutely crushing it. So as I slowly caught him up, yeah, we started to run together a little bit more, and he's always had a bit of a like an input in my training, I guess, and then more recently, I think it's come up to almost a year now. He's been more of a running coach for me. So yeah, that's where I met Mr. Schmangs.
Yeah, that's that is a cool story, and I totally forgot about that. You moved to Stockholm for a bit after you graduated university. That's pretty cool. What can I expect for people listening? So I'm picking up Victor as a coach. Hopefully, so the Olympic trials qualifying times just came out for the U.S. I got a lot of work to do. It's
Yeah, it's
2:16:00.
2:16.
Yeah, so you know, I that's a lot. The time to drop. I'm gonna try my best. Uh, we'll see. But what can I expect from Victor? Like, what kind of workouts does he do? What kind of mileage can I expect? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I guess most people who are coached by Victor will do or take on a similar training schedule as to what he does currently. So a lot of double threshold sort of stuff, where in the morning you'll have a very controlled, more LT1 lower end of threshold session, and that you think, oh, what's the point in running this comfortably? Like I could run quicker if I wanted to, but you learn that when you train with Victor, it's very important to get that morning session right, because in the evening you're also going to have a session which is going to be a little bit more intense. And if you go too hard in the morning, then you struggle in the evening. So you soon learn there's method to the madness. If he says run at 340 per kilometer for your threshold in the morning, then run 305s for your threshold in the evening, then you realize why there's the sort of polarized approach to his threshold training. Likes a lot of mileage. Mileage is a big part of it. Lots of easy runs. You'll be doing plenty of days where you have 12 kilometers in the morning, 12 kilometers in the evening with strides. And he follows a very similar protocol for the easy days. So on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and maybe Saturday or Sunday, depending when you have your long run, your easy days will look basically identical to each other. Long run's progressive, always start comfortable, build towards marathon pace, with a couple of kilometers of cool down. He likes the pickup in the long run, which has been really good for me in terms of building that endurance in the back end of a marathon. So yeah, it can be, I would say, in the nicest way possible, Victor's training can be a little bit boring in terms of you do a lot of the same thing, but if you trust in the process, then yeah, you build a strong aerobic threshold base that then you can apply more specifically to any race distance. So yeah, you learn to embrace the boring training and just get it done.
It clearly works. He's really fast, and you
Yeah,
are too, obviously.
it
Um,
works definitely.
I want to get the rundown from you on lactate threshold testing and the levels of like what you should be seeing on the reader and what they mean. I watched one of your videos where I think it was your first double T back after Barcelona, and you
Oh
did
yeah,
6 by mile in the morning, and then your PM session was something like 16 or 20 by 400,
yeah,
and you had drastically different levels, I thought, on your lactate tester. Just take us through that and
yeah.
what you
So
should be reading.
in short, in simple terms, there's kind of like two lactate turn points. You've got your LT1, which is your first aerobic threshold, and then you've got your LT2, which is your anaerobic threshold, kind of the point of no return when lactate builds up really, really quickly in the blood. And for the morning sessions with Victor, he focuses the training stimulus more on that LT1. So you want to see a number around 2 millimoles. It depends on the individual. And I'd recommend if anyone wants to do lactate training or use lactate as a measure in their training, is to get a lab test to figure out where these zones actually are for you. Because my lactate threshold one may be 1.5 millimoles, for example, but another athlete might have a LT1 of 2.5, which doesn't sound like a huge difference, but you need to basically understand what the number means in relation to you. So for me, my lactate threshold one is somewhere around 1.5 to 2 millimoles, and then my LT2, that second lactate turn point, is closer to 4 millimoles. So I take samples during my lactate threshold training to figure out if I was in the right zone and that I was getting the right stimulus from that session. So, for example, if I do a morning session and I see a number above 2, then I may think, okay, I might have overcooked that one a little bit. I could adjust that next week. And I also know that maybe in the evening, I might feel that a little bit. So I might have to factor in that extra fatigue. So it's just kind of a marker and making sure you get the intensity right to be able to handle the volume of training over time. I think if you're somebody who's not running like crazy amounts of threshold workouts a week, then it doesn't matter too much if your intensity is a little bit high or a little bit too low. But when you start like having almost the capacity in terms of the threshold work that you do, you need to be much more careful with the intensity and not overdoing it or underdoing it for certain sessions. So yeah, I don't know if that helps explain it a little bit.
No,
Totally.
yeah, it does a lot. Yeah. So I've been looking at getting one of the I think it's called Lactate Pro, and one of our buddies, Jacob Thompson, he's a 211 marathoner. He uses it, and he was like telling me the test strips are like about $2 or £2 each.
Yeah,
So he was like, every time you test, it's about $2. So can kind of get expensive if you're doing it a lot.
yeah, definitely. I try not to think about it in terms of each individual test. It's just an investment, and then once it's paid for, it's done. If you're going to use it as a tool, then use it when you need to. So yeah, it can be. It's definitely not cheap, that's for sure. But it adds a new dynamic to the training as well. After your
Yeah.
session, you get to test the lactate. You get that feedback. Were you training to the right intensities? And it's also good in that coaching athlete relationship as well, because like obviously Victor is in Sweden, I'm in the UK. He can't see me at in the training session. He can't see if I'm at the right intensity. But with a lactate number, it's quite easy to tell, was that the correct pace, and then we can look at adjusting the pace, say in the next training session. So yeah, it is expensive and not necessary for everyone, I'd say, but I've enjoyed having it as a training tool just to make sure I'm doing things right.
I would love to. Well, I'm definitely gonna get into it, so I'm gonna buy one, and we'll see how it goes. So, I did a lactate test at a university here, and
Nice.
the it was a bit confusing because they kept me at the same pace the whole time. It was about 330 per k pace. I
Yeah.
think that's like 530 pace for miles, but they kept like increasing the incline instead of the pace. So
Oh,
I don't
okay.
really know how to like use
Convert that
that.
into actual, yeah,
Yeah, so I
training
might have to like
pace
figure
zones.
something else out. Victor said he can work with it, so we'll see. But
Yeah.
so we'll see.
Maybe the
But
treadmill they use couldn't go any quicker. You're too fast for the treadmill, so they had to ramp the incline up.
yeah, it was one of the it was like a nice quick one. So it was just like grad students, and they didn't seem like they knew 100% what they were doing, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, hopefully you can look at maybe the heart rate figures and then compare that to the lactate, and then you can kind of figure out like your paces from that. Would be
yeah,
my guess at what
that's
Victor's thinking.
yeah, exactly. And I did get that. So I wanted to ask you about a couple recent things in your life. So I'll start with Meg going full time with you. What was, I guess, what was like the conversation going into that decision? Because obviously, like, you know, your views on everything are amazing. All the numbers are going up. You're obviously making enough financially to support you guys. So, what was like the conversation like with her in terms of like her stepping down from her job and joining you full time?
Yeah, it was kind of a gradual sort of conversation that we've had over the last few years. So Meg's always been helping me in terms of filming videos, helping with the content side of things behind the scenes, and she was working a full-time job in the fashion industry, and she absolutely loved her job. It wasn't a case that she like wanted a career change or something like that. It was just a case of where we live is about an hour or an hour and a half from her offices in London. If she's was to work in the fashion industry, then you have to be in London, really. So the commute was an hour and a half to work, an hour and a half back in the evening, and it just meant in terms of like work life balance, it wasn't the best for her in terms of being able to do anything outside of work in the week, and obviously we weren't able to see each other as much. So that was one of the main reasons, is just allowing her to have a little bit more flexibility with her time. And when I go off and do a marathon in, I don't know, somewhere, then it would be nice if she could come and didn't have work commitments. And it also was, on the other hand, for me, I got to a point with the content creation that I was looking to basically get somebody on board to help with editing, with production, with, yeah, basically replying to emails, everything that I have to do as part of the job. Um, so yeah, it just was like it seemed like the perfect opportunity to get Meg on board, work together, and try and make it a bit more of a longer term thing, which is what we're currently working on at the moment. And to be fair, it's gone really well, very productive, and yeah, we've been able to just do the little things, like we've been going and seeing family in the week, and um, yeah, taking day trips out to places we want to go, having a bit more flexibility with our lives. And yeah, without getting too deep, ultimately, when we have children, it would be nice to both be around and not have one of us who's commuting to London every day. So kind of looked at our longer term picture and are trying to see if we can take Ben as running to um, another level in terms of it as a business. So yeah, there's a few things in the pipelines coming soon.
Yeah, I
Can
was
you
getting
talk about him here, or is it not yet?
Yeah, yeah, no reason not to. Just mainly working on some pieces of merchandise. So hopefully in the next, I don't know the time frame, in the next few months there'll be some sort of Ben is running merch, and we're also working with a sock company that I work with called Shoe,
sure.
on a collaboration as well, which will be really cool. So yeah, looking at other sources of revenue to make it obviously financially feasible for the two of us. But yeah,
I'm
we're enjoying it
I'm
so far.
I am curious because we do some coaching through the podcast.
Yeah,
Do you have, and I'm just imagining if you put offering coaching spots on Instagram or something, you'd have 10,000 or maybe like 1,000 people,
yeah.
say like, I want in. Have you ever thought about that or not interested in that?
I think it's something I will look at maybe a little bit further down the line. I feel like I've always said that I don't fully know like how to train somebody. I don't know everything about the sport yet. Like I've only been running for 4 or 5 years, so I feel like I've still got a lot to learn in terms of before I'd feel comfortable in coaching other people. And I guess it's the case of like just because you've improved yourself, you've become a half decent runner, doesn't mean you'll necessarily be a great running coach. So it's definitely something I'll look at down the line. But at the moment, balancing all the other plates, I think if I was to then become a running coach as well, that probably would tip me over the edge in terms of having any free time. So for the time being, no immediate plans, but maybe when my own running slows down, then yeah, um, becoming an online running coach would definitely be something I'd look into.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like you have like a really good balance right now where you're like, you and Meg are very happy and you're like legitimately, and you're not like, like I said, you have time to visit family, you have time to go on day trips and stuff, and you're able
Yeah,
to, comfortably live, financially.
yeah,
So it
exactly.
seems like a perfect setup, and it's like you don't want to tip the scales the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, all about that work-life balance. So at the moment, things are going well. So I don't want to take on too much, and then yeah, the balance shifts more towards the work side of things. I want to keep enjoying what we're doing. So um, yeah, it's been a great few months having her on board. That's for sure.
So the second topic I want to talk about, maybe more of a sore subject, is London Marathon a bit. So obviously, like you had a good training block going into London. You were in 66 minutes and a half, which is a nice PB in Barcelona. How and so like based on what I was seeing on Strava and online, the fitness was, I thought you were going to run like 218, 219, but I think me and Danny were in Chicago last year and we got a very similar weather day where it was in in Fahrenheit. It was like similar. It's like 62, 63. Like it was too warm.
Yeah,
And like a lot of the times, like the East Africans can still run pretty well in the warm weather, but me and Danny both had pretty tough races at Chicago. And then, but Danny ran a race a month later and ran a nice PR. So it just
yeah.
wanted to show that I think we were both in better shape. So, I mean, in terms of London, what kind of, um, I guess, at the start of the race, were you still like in the mindset of, I'm still going to go for it? Or were you thinking about the heat a bit and adjusting maybe?
Yeah, I think obviously London was not the result I wanted in terms of the time that I finished with, but training had gone really well. I felt in training that I was the fittest I'd ever been. So when I turned up on the day and I was like, oh, it's a bit hot, and we were warming up for the race and it was getting really quite warm. I was still thinking like, should I go for it or should I not? But in all honesty, there was never a point where I thought, oh, I'm not going to try and go for 220 because I'd put all the effort into the training the months leading up to it, and you kind of just naively think, yes, it's warm, but if I take on more water and if I just am really dialed in with nutrition and getting into a good pack, then you can still have a good day. Yes, it's a little bit of a barrier, but yeah, going into the race, I was still like, this is the time. Try and run a PE or PR. And unfortunately, yeah, the hot conditions just uh, made it real tough. And I think I suffered a lot earlier than I was expecting to be honest. Just that I think with marathon running, as I'm sure you both know, you're very much at a sort of level with the intensity that if you go slightly above that line, then you're you're treading, uh, you're running too close to the sun, quite literally in London. So I think because I'd started off too quick in terms of effort, that soon caught up with me, and I think after like halfway, I was like, okay, I can tell this is probably not going to be my day, but I was like, it might just be a rough point. It might just be, in marathons you have the peaks and troughs. So I was like, just stick at it, stick with the group. Like, we're on for 2:20 pace here. If you can get through this rough patch, then maybe you'll come good again. Unfortunately, I got to like 28k in the race, so just over the halfway point, and my stomach started to cramp up. So I was already overheating. The stomach wasn't playing ball, and I was like, this is quickly falling apart. And unfortunately, it wasn't a day for quick times. But I think it was a pretty similar story for at least 90% of the other runners that I spoke to on the day, in terms of they ran like at least 5-10 minutes off what they were hoping for. So I think in terms of like processing it, it was kind of like, it is what it is. It was a hot day. Everybody struggled. Like, it's not necessarily a accurate representation of where I was at going into the race. But obviously with a marathon, once you've run the 26.2 miles, your body's going to be knackered no matter what. So it was a case of just accepting it wasn't the best of results, but I still enjoyed the day, and the training wasn't wasted. And now I'm trying to refocus on the shorter stuff over the summer and use some of that training, that aerobic base that I built up, to apply to some fast 5Ks.
Yeah, it is tough. Like, I mean, I remember after Chicago last year too, I should have, I was looking like, oh, a lot of people struggled. Like me and Danny both struggled, and it is hard to, I guess, because like all the PRs, like, you still had a great block. Like, you clearly like improved your overall fitness. You ran a nice half PR, but like as like true like marathoners, like all three of us are, it's like that marathon time is what like really matters to us. So like
Yeah, definitely.
like the 5K or half not going as well, like doesn't sting as bad. But even like it's just like the goal race, the marathon, like not going how you want, it like stings like much
Yeah,
worse.
definitely. I think that's also the beauty of the marathon distance. Like, that's what keeps you coming back, because you can
Yep.
have a great training block, the race doesn't go to plan, and you're like, right, I'm going to use that disappointment as fuel for the next one, and I'm not going to let that happen again. So you learn from each marathon you do, and you build your training blocks on top of each other, and you see your fitness gradually building. And my marathon time is gradually coming down, but it's not necessarily every time I run a marathon I don't necessarily run a PB. So you get into that sort of, like you said, the marathon means so much more, because on a day when it comes together, you have the best race of your life, and it's like, nothing else can get any better than when you cross the line, when you ran a PB
Yeah.
in the marathon. Whereas if you do it in the 5K, it's like, well, that was great, I'm really happy with that, but like, you could maybe repeat a 5K PB in 2 or 3 weeks time, but once you run the marathon, that's it. You don't get another chance at it for another, I don't know, 3 or 4 months until you rebuild and go again. So I think that's kind of the beauty of it as well. That's what keeps me coming back anyway.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up why we're in love with the marathon. All the build up, all the hype. One
Yeah,
day for a couple hours, you get to go out there and set yourself up for the opportunity to run really well. And some days you just don't get the conditions, right? So
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was just telling one of our other, who was I telling that, Danny? Like, I almost have like post marathon depression right now, because like we had like that whole build up. We had several podcasts talking about the build up, and like finally the race comes. It's perfect weather. We have great race. And then it's just now, just like, well, now what?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
what I feel like. So, yeah.
I actually was sat in a coffee shop today planning a YouTube video on that topic of like the post marathon blues and like picking yourself up from a running rut, because I think it's normal for like you to feel a little bit low after you've literally trained every day for months for one day, and then regardless of whether it goes well or it doesn't go well, when you wake up in the morning, like, you no longer have that focus. So I think it's very normal to feel that after a marathon. It's just how you sort of pick yourself up after it. Obviously, you've got to take time to reset and allow the body to come back good after a big effort like that. So I think it's something that not many people talk about. But even if you absolutely smash the marathon, which I think you did by the sound of things, Chris, quite recently, you still feel like something's missing when you get
Yeah.
back into, when you go out for a run again, or you get back into training, because you don't necessarily have that drive and focus that you once had. So
That's the balance, right? The sport isn't everything, yet you get in the grind of marathon training and the build, and it becomes part of your daily routine in your life. And
Yeah,
then you kind of have, it's not like you reach nirvana when you run a PR, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
you're right.
that's the
Uh,
balance, is, finding beauty in the process, and just keeping going.
Yeah, for sure.
well, I mean, like I said, it is good that at least you validated your fitness and increase in fitness with your half marathon PR. So at least like you were in PR marathon shape. You just got a bad weather day, but you did pop off the race shortly after the race and recently ran a nice track 5K PR. So that was good to see and good to see you in good spirits after that one.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise really at how well that first sort of track race of the season went. It was kind of just a line in the sand in terms of where I'm at 5K wise, because I haven't done any 5K specific training. Obviously, when you train for a marathon, you're going to be fit, but I'm sure you guys both know it's marathon fitness is very different to feeling fast and poppy, and the ability to sort of like push your body to the absolute limit for 15 odd minutes is a very different feeling. So I wasn't really sure of where I was at going into that race, but I thought I hopefully should be around the 15-minute barrier, and I ran 14:50, which was I think 6-second PR on the track, which I was very happy with. And I've got like I think maybe 4 or 5 5K races in the next few months where I can hopefully
Nice.
chip away with at that time over the summer with some more speed training. So yeah, that's my kind of focus at the moment. Try and get closer to 14:30 over the 5K as more of a long-term focus of moving back to the marathon towards the end of the year. I think focusing on some 5K speed is good for both applying to the marathon, and it also is good for my training in terms of it switches it up a little bit. I'm not going out and slogging 20-mile long runs every weekend, and
Yeah.
the training absolutely taken over my life. So I'm enjoying switching it up a little bit and doing a bit of speed work. I ran some 28 second 200 meters in training this week, which I haven't done in a long time, and
All right.
it felt pretty good to rip something quick. So hopefully that pays off over the 5K distance in the next few
That's
months.
quick. That's quick.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is properly
it
good.
felt like I was absolutely sprinting. So and then I've got buddies who are training for more 8 and 1500 meters, and they're just like ripping past me on these reps, like I'm standing still. So yeah, it's good to get down on the track and do something a bit different other than those
Yeah.
long slogs of marathon training.
Yeah, it kind of recalibrates what it feels like to run hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I feel like it takes me a few races to learn that feeling again of
Hmm.
knowing where that red line is, and you have to get comfortable with the feeling of the pain that is the 5K.
Did I gotta say, Danny, I'm so jealous of the British club system they have for cross country and track. There's just so many good opportunities to like run like races and compete with like
Yeah,
people
definitely.
like in the U.S. Unless you're like pretty elite level and get into like a pro meet, it's like pretty hard for like me and Danny to find like a track meet, like a track 5K to run, like a 3K
Yeah.
to run that's organized. We'd have to like time trial it. And same with cross country. There's literally none that we could do. So it is like a really cool system you guys have, the club system.
Yeah, we're very lucky in the UK that we have sort of like different meets and different levels as well to each of those meets. So I run for my local club, Chelmsford, and we have like we compete at the National Athletics League, which is kind of like the more competitive of the two meets that we have in the season. Then we have like our more regional, it's called Southern Athletics League, which is just like local athletics clubs that get together and race over the 3K or 5K distance. So there's plenty of opportunities basically in my schedule. It's almost like every weekend if I wanted to run a track race in the summer, then you can find one and get into it. So from that respect, yeah, we are super lucky. And then we have these like not professional, but like semi sub elite, I guess you could say, races that are popping up where they have like seeded 5Ks. So it will be like a festival of 5K races. The first will start at like 18 minutes, and then it will go all the way down to 13 and a half minutes in terms of pacing. So you can get in one of these races
Wow.
and basically be guaranteed a PR because you jump on the train and it's going at your PB pace. So yeah, they've been. I've done a few of those recently, and they're really good fun. So it's a shame you don't have more of that in the US. That's for sure.
Is there like an organizing body that manages all the clubs or sets the rules or does the events, or what is that and how does that work?
Yeah, so we have like the UK Athletics Board, which are kind of in charge of athletics in general. But then I'd say the running of these like smaller events are much more reliant on the club scene itself. So, for example, in the Southern Athletics League that I was just talking about, each club that competes will host a meet across the season. So our meet that we hosted at Chelmsford was last weekend. So we host the track, we have all the officials, the volunteers, people running everything. And then the following, in 2 weeks' time, we'll go, I don't know, somewhere a couple of hours away and somebody else will host the meet and put on that sort of reception for the other athletics clubs. So, yeah, you basically have to be part of a system where everybody's willing to chip in and help. And I guess it's a lot of voluntary work here in the UK that puts on these races. Obviously, you need people to time them, to run tuck shops, and make teas and coffees and stuff that you don't see behind the scenes. Obviously, we all want to turn up and race, but there's a lot more to it that goes in behind the scenes. So, yeah, I think the actual athletics clubs have a big role in those meets.
Ben, what's next for you in terms of your running for 2025? You talked about being in the speed block this summer.
Yeah.
You're ripping a lot of 5Ks, personal best, and then in the fall, do you have any marathons in the horizon?
Please tell me Chicago.
Yes, it is Chicago.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Yeah, I'm
Dude.
hoping to do it.
Dude, let's run together. I'll be shooting for under 220. Let's do it.
That would be awesome. Hopefully, I can be in around that shape at that time of the year. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but I hopefully will be doing it with Nike. So yeah, maybe that's my next trip to the US is Chicago in October. But if that doesn't happen, then I'll be going again for a quick one in December in Valencia. So
Nice.
yeah, the longer term goals for the year are to run a marathon PR. So these 5Ks and 3K races that I'm doing in the summer are kind of just for fun, racing regularly, and yeah, trying to improve the leg speed to then when I go back to the marathon, hopefully 220 marathon pace feels like a jog.
Yeah, that's dude, I really didn't think you were gonna do Chicago, so that's exciting news. So the American development field is full, so it's
Yeah,
like the group behind the elite crowd. So I'm stuck in the A field, which is fine. It was
yeah,
fine last year, but so
that's where I'll
hopefully
be
I'm
as well.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean we can chat as we get closer, but if we're in similar shape, yeah,
it'd be
let's
awesome.
run. I can get some film of you two during the race. Yeah, seriously, I don't mind. So that'd be a lot
We'll
of
be
fun,
locked
man.
in. No messing about with cameras. We need to get that sub 220 first.
Should
Yeah,
we get
yeah.
you some Ray-Ban Meta glasses so you can just wear those during the race?
Oh, I
Oh
could. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd do
they're
that.
they're scary those.
I wonder if both me and you are running and planning on going together. I bet Victor would want to come watch that too. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, that could be
Um,
cool. Get him
yeah,
up
man.
to pace us for the first 30K or something. That is LT1.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah. That'd be super cool.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Well, that's exciting. That makes me very excited. I didn't think you were going to say Chicago, so that's cool.
Yeah, I'm looking
Um,
forward to it. I mean, both the
nice.
world records have been set there, so it's got to be a half decent course if you get a good day.
Most years it is good weather. Last year was kind of like 1 out of 5 years it's warm, so we're
Yeah,
expecting this year to be a better year. So we'll
perfect
see.
conditions, please. If you can somehow fabricate that, that would be great.
Yeah, yeah, we can make it happen. Danny P, before we wrap her up here, you want to do your question, man?
Yeah, I'll do a variation of my question. I've been asking a lot of questions this with rapid fires, and this one, this is usually the big one that they give me at the end of that episode, Ben. But I want to know what your advice would be to some of our listeners coming off of a tough race. How do you use that to motivate you going forward, or how do you just deal with that internally and turn it into something that can be wind in your sails rather than a headwind?
Yeah, I think for me, you definitely have to accept that the race hasn't gone well. Like, there's no point just trying to bury it and just get back out there and jump straight back into your training, because it will catch up with you in a few weeks' time. If you don't process it, then you're just going to be delaying the sort of process of getting the best out of yourself. And then once you've taken some time off to mentally reset, as well as obviously physically after a hard race effort, then I try to just focus on a new goal, whether that's like for me it's on the 5k distance, try and get as quick as I can in the summer. It might be signing up for another race. I find that when I've got something lined up or something to work towards, it becomes a lot easier to sort of get yourself out of that funk or the disappointment of a bad race when you've got something to work towards. So I like to book in the next thing, process that, yes, you did you did all this great training, it didn't happen on race day, but don't let that be like the final nail in the coffin. Try and refocus things and go again for, it could be the same goal, another marathon if you want to, or you can switch it up completely and, I don't know, focus on just something that brings you joy in running, like joining a new running club or doing sessions that you know you'll enjoy, rather than slogging it out. So yeah, that would be my advice.
It's great advice.
That's great advice. And yeah, just remember, it's just running. It doesn't reflect
Exactly.
on you as a person if you have a bad day. So keep that in mind too.
The world keeps
And
spinning. Your marathon time doesn't matter too much. Like, as much as it might seem like it means the world to you, to everybody else, it's just a number, and they'll soon forget about it.
Yeah. Yep.
Ben, what does run to inspire, inspire to run mean to you?
So that's my my tagline at the end of my YouTube videos. But yeah, to me, it's kind of like the reason why I run, or why I make YouTube videos, is to get other people into the sport, and then the aspire to run bit is more of like a my goal within the sport is always to get the best out of myself. So my motto has kind of been like, I make running content to inspire others to give it their best, and in the meantime, I'm going to try and be the best athlete I can be in my own training. So yeah, that's what the slogan, if you like, means to me.
You've done a great job inspiring, my man. This has been an inspiring podcast.
Thank you, guys.
So
Lovely
thank you for
talking to you
that.
both.
Yeah, man. Thanks for making time. We really, I can't imagine how many emails you're getting a day with how big you are now, and how much you got going on. So we really appreciate it. And we'll definitely keep in touch as we get closer to Chicago and see if we can make
Definitely.
it happen.
Yeah, let's get the training block going already. I mean, October will come around quick, I'm sure, but I'm looking forward to going again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's a 21, 22 week training block anyways,
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. All this 5K stuff is just marathon training in disguise.
Yeah, exactly.
I've
Yep.
started already.
All right. This is episode 144, Life and Stride podcast. We'll have all Ben's Instagram, Strava, and YouTube linked in the show notes. If you don't follow him already, everyone listening to this probably does. But if you don't, and for some reason this is your first time hearing of Ben is running, make sure you follow him. Really good, positive content he puts out. So make sure you check him out. And we'll catch you on 145. That's a wrap. Peace.
Thank you, guys. Speak to you soon.
Dude, yeah,